As Christians, the right of expressing our faith in God on the workplace or wherever is an important right. And it's important that we preserve these rights, because if we don't, we'll find that we will soon lose those rights. And we would encourage you to not be silent concerning your love for God and your faith in Jesus Christ.
Faith in the workplace, I think, is essential.
And we are called to bloom wherever we are planted. And if we are Christian businessmen, then that's our calling and our ministry.
The workplace for me has really been an opportunity as a mission field.
The challenge is everybody is that they think that you can't do it. It's not legal. But it's protected by the First Amendment right. You have the right to express your religion.
A private employer does not need to hide his or her faith. They don't need to hide the identity of their convictions. And they're allowed in proper ways to let their employees know about their faith and values.
You know, if you're a Christian, you know that we are all called to be salt and light. The question I have for you is, what is it that salt and light both have in common? Both salt and light radically change their environment. That's what we're called to do. And the question I have for you is, are you changing your environment, or is it changing you?
This program is very important because there is a major void out there in the private sector as to what people can do with regards to sharing their faith, living their faith, demonstrating their faith. And what happens when there's a void and there's an absence of knowledge? Fear comes in, and fear silences people of faith from living and practicing and experiencing their faith where they spend most of their time, which is in the workplace.
I will never forget an afternoon, 1976. I was sitting in my office trying to concentrate on my work and very conflicted and couldn't concentrate because this thought kept coming to me that God might be calling me into full-time ministry. And finally, I just stopped and I prayed. And one of those earnest prayers, sometimes you just know you're touching God. And I just cried out from my heart as sincerely as I could and said, God, you're going to have to tell me what to do. I'm a double-minded man in all of my ways. I don't know which way to go. And I must recognize I have 2 young daughters. I don't know how to support them. I'm in a family business that may well fail if I leave it. This is a big decision. So if you want me to go in this direction, you almost have to speak to me in an audible voice, because I can't have any area of doubt in this. I prayed that prayer, tried to go back to my work. I decided to pack it in for the day, so I was just closing my papers. I looked out, and here's a guy by the name of Dave McNutt walking in the front door. Now, Dave was a guy at my church, somebody I had not ever spoken to, had any conversation to. I may have said hi, Dave, to him in the lobby of the church a couple of times. But lo and behold, a few moments later, the secretary came in, and she said, there's a Dave McNutt here to see you. Wow, okay, set him on in. So he comes in, he says, hi, Barry. I said, hi. He said, how's it going? And I said, well, it's just really great. And he sat down on the couch in front of my desk, and I had to make a quick decision. He was a missionary kid, probably not into car wax and cool cars. So I decided to start talking about ministry. I said, you know, it's going really good. I've had so many wonderful opportunities to share my faith with people and leading some people to the Lord across the country in business situations, and it's just really amazing. And he says, wow. He says, God has given you an amazing ministry here, hasn't he? And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, I just listened to what you're saying, and the people that you've just told me about are all people that a pastor could not reach. But as a businessman, you just can out of hand, just your colleague, and you can just out of hand share your faith. It's obvious that your business is your pulpit. Wow. I got to tell you, I sat back in my chair and chills were going down my back. And I've looked at that ever since and just thought, praise God. God cared enough to speak directly to me and let me know I'm supposed to stay right where I am. And that's worked out pretty well for me. The business has done well, my pulpit has grown, and I just have amazing opportunities to share my faith.
I was promoted to vice president of Intel at the ripe old age of 32. I was made a vice president, the youngest ever in the history of the company, and I started running and building this group in video conferencing and internet communications. Well, after doing this for almost 4 years, it was a failure. And your first big failure in your career is like a big wake-up call. You're praying all the time, you know, why God, what did I do wrong? Clearly you're struggling with your own pride. I mean, particularly as men, you know, you're so wrapped up Your ego is so wrapped around your work and your career.
One of the things that comes up is that he is a Christian, which means he puts his faith on the line inside of Intel. It can cause challenges in a politically correct environment that can be a little bit tricky to tread on. And quite frankly, I have personally not put my faith on the line as much as that, at least not until I really got to know Pat.
I sort of felt like Moses or Joseph, their periods of great failure. And it was sort of God's way of extracting some of that pride and ego from me and starting to attack some of the areas that really were preventing me from being as successful and as influential for the kingdom as I might be. There's no closet Christian with me. And I've spoken publicly, internally, at different things about my faith. Everything you do is now on a pedestal and people are watching your actions all day long. Are you going to slip and profane? Are you going to get angry inappropriately with somebody? Are you going to be, somehow making inappropriate remarks? All of those things now are being analyzed by everybody around you all the time. My counsel to people is be a great employee. Just be, work hard, do your very best, realize that you're working for Christ and for His kingdom, and you're employed here on earth for a particular employee. And as you do that, you can look past an awful lot of the politics, an awful lot of the good and the bad days, knowing that your only reward is for the kingdom.
I am not here at this business just to make as much money as I can. This business truly is a platform for ministry. God has entrusted me with this company. I look at it as His company, not mine. I'm just a steward over it, that I'm here to manage the resources that God's entrusted to me. In setting up our mission statement for the company, I gathered my executive team in a room for a day and a half, brought in a Christian facilitator to help us talk through that whole process. As a team, we brought our mission statement down to basically states to glorify God in all we do and bring value to our customers, to our shareholders, to all of our employees, and to our vendors. One of the benefits we provide to our employees, which I feel is the most valuable benefit that we can provide, is a corporate chaplain. We've had a gentleman named Jim Salcido for the last several years. Bilingual guy, gets along great with all our employees, and is just a great resource because all of our employees at some point in their life are going to go through a major challenge in their life and need somebody to talk to. Not all of them go to church, so Jim's here walking around every week, just building that relationship, looking for the opportunity to share Christ with them. Another thing I do just to be a witness in the office place here is on our front counter in my office, out in the customer service desk, we have Christian literature. You'll find the monthly newsletter from the Sheepfold, which is a homeless shelter for women with children here in Southern California. You'll find the Pocket Testament League, Gospel of John. You'll find literature from the Free Wheelchair Mission, just a number of different Christian ministries. So we are, overtly putting it out there that we are Christian without shoving it down someone's throat. But it's neat to have that there because it has started so many conversations where people, while they're waiting for us, will pick it up and look at it. We have a Christmas party. I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm very overt that it's a Christmas party, and I say a blessing at it and just have a great time of celebration and fun with the whole family. One of the things that I have in my office very clearly is a picture of Christ hanging on the wall over my desk. I do not hide the fact that I'm a Christian, that I'm a believer, and it's a great conversation starter because anybody that comes in my office, be it employee, customer, vendor, it's very clear over my shoulder that Christ is watching me, and it just gives an opportunity to start conversations and makes, I think, a lot of people feel more comfortable. You'd be surprised how many Christians are out there. As business people, a lot of times we feel like we're the only ones, but if you can be bold in your faith and have some symbol out there, it will open the doors to allow you to be an encouragement to other Christians also.
I actually developed what I call the QC program. It's my QC program. This is my patented program, and it works like a charm. QC, first the Q. Q is qualifying people. Every time I meet somebody new, I want to qualify them. And, one way to do that is say, are you a Christian? You can ask that question. Of course, you're going to offend them in the process most of the time. I don't ask that, and yet I do. But I do it in a different way that they have no idea what I'm really up to. I'll start talking during that first initial conversation, or certainly one of the first conversations I have with a new friend or a new acquaintance. And I reference my church or my pastor or somebody in the church. I'll say, the pastor, when he was preaching on Sunday, he told this amazing story, or had this great joke, or one of my best friends at church told me this, or, we had a great time at Sunday, and after church we went out to lunch, something very non-controversial. If they are a Christian, every single time they will light up and say, oh, you're a Christian. Wow, where do you go to church? We've all done that. We know that's what happens. If they don't say anything back, it shouts the message they're not a Christian. Okay, so now they're on my prayer list. Now I know where I am with them, so I know they're not a Christian. The next step from there is the C part of my QC program, and that's chumming. And I love to chum. On marlin, if he's not hungry, he'll swim right through that, won't pay any attention to the chum line. But if he's hungry, and there's a relationship to this and being fishers of men, you cannot force feed Christianity to people unless they're hungry. They have to be hungry. So what you need to do is just put out the chum and let them go and let them make the decision if there's going to be more to the program. When a marlin comes through and he's hungry, he finds that tasty little morsel. Oh, that tastes pretty good. Then he looks, there's another one. And he starts coming up this chum line. He gets the next one, and he gets the next one, and he gets the next one. And I have to tell you, there is nothing more beautiful than watching a marlin coming up your chum line, coming closer and closer and closer to you. And you now have your line in the water with what looks like another piece of chum, but it's your hook. And when he grabs hold of that hook, you're in for a real ride, but you've got it. I say there's nothing more beautiful than that. I have to tell you, there's one thing more beautiful. There is nothing more beautiful than seeing a non-Christian who's hungry, that takes the bait, takes that little chum that I've thrown out about the church and the pastor, my friend at church, starts asking questions, is hungry, starts coming in, and starts coming up the chum line. And so I chum. When I know the person's not a Christian, whenever I'm around, I don't say anything that offends them. I just reference, if something happened to them that was amazing, I'll say, boy, God saved you from that, didn't he? Or God must really have big plans for you. And immediately, always, I go right on to, hey, how about those Dodgers? I never want to leave them where they're feeling uncomfortable or that I'm pushing something. It just happens. But what happens beyond that is really beautiful, because someday they will be hungry. Karen and I pray every day to God and tell God we're available. We're available. Our priority today is we're available. Lots of things going on today, but during the day, people have a way of coming and having needs. And you know what? The people that you've chummed for over a lot of years, sometimes they run from you. I've had some that won't have anything, not one positive word about God, will have nothing to do with it. Like me, don't like God. But you know what? When they come down with cancer, they have a marriage problem, their kid's in trouble, all the types of things that happen in life, and they start pondering real values and where to go. And guess who they call? And my great privilege is that people call me on a regular basis and ask me if I can talk to them. And that's such a privilege. It's just really great. And we could all do that.